Welcome. To make your Lux Lila bikini today, you're going to need several supplies. The first thing you need, if you're making size A or B, you're going to need one 50-gram skein of Cascade Yarns Fixation yarn. If you're making sizes C, D, or double D today, you'll need 2 of those. You'll also need a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook, a measuring tape, scissors, some stitch markers, a darning needle, and then for the ties we're going to be using elastic cord today. And if you'd like to finish your ties with wooden beads, you'll need some of those as well. Let's get started. Begin with a slip knot. And then you're going to chain 15. This is the same for all sizes to begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. It'll measure approximately 2¼ inches. You're going to begin row 1 with half double crochet stitches. That's a yarn over. Find the second chain from the hook. Yarn over. You'll have 3 loops on your hook and pull through all 3. That completes your first half double crochet. In this pattern, the turning chain does not count as a stitch, so we'll finish up this first row with a total of 14 half double crochets. To 14, you've come to the end of your first row. In this pattern, to turn rows, we're going to chain 1 and turn. In row 2, we're going to work 1 half double crochet 14 times. Begin in the first stitch. And the 14th stitch might be a little tighter. Fine, make sure you're counting. And that's 14. After you've completed 14 stitches in row 2, you're going to turn your work to the post side. And here in this last half double crochet post is where we're going to put our first shell stitch. And that comes comprised of 5 half double crochets. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pause at 3 and I'm going to put my stitch marker in that 3rd stitch. I've got 2 more to go. 4 and 5. And that stitch marker is going to be marking our center point for future rounds. After we've got that in, we're ready to continue down now the other side of the work. 14 stitches down the other side. Making sure you get under 2 loops each time and count them out. 1. And the last stitch, you'll see how that looks. It's right above your knot. That makes 14. We're ready to chain 1 and turn our work. We're ready for row 3. Here's what it looks like to begin row 3 though. We're going to half double crochet in each of now 16 stitches of the upside. Again, we gathered 2 more stitches on either side once we added that shell. So the way this works is basically each round, when you complete a 5 half double crochet shell, you're adding 4 stitches. So where we were at 14 in round 1, after round 2, we have a total of 33 stitches now. And here we're going to come into round 3, where we'll have a total of 37 at the end. Begin round 3, I'm going to yarn over and half double crochet in that very first stitch again. Count them out, 1, 2, 15, and 16. That should bring you up to the center stitch. After 16, you'll see that the next stitch is your center point. And here again, you're going to be putting another shell in this peak stitch. So before you do that, you're going to want to remove your stitch marker. We're going to make 5 half double crochets, but we'll pause again after the 3rd stitch to insert the stitch marker. There's 1, 2, 3, and pause, insert your stitch marker. And 2 more, 4, 5. Now we can continue down the other side. It'll be 16 down the other side. A chain 1 and turn. 16 and chain 1 to turn. We're ready to continue on. We're ready to begin row 4. We're going to half double crochet in each of 18 stitches up the upside, another shell in the peak stitch, and then continue down 18 more on that side. At the end of row 4, you'll have 41 stitches. 18. After 18 stitches, you'll find yourself back at your peak stitch again. We're going to remove the stitch marker, and once again, we're placing 5 half double crochets in our peak and replacing the stitch marker on the 3rd stitch. It's 1, 2, 3, pause, 4, 5. Now we're ready to complete row 4 by continuing down the other side with 18 half double crochet stitches. We'll count those out. Begin in the very first available stitch. It's 1, and 18 will be your end stitch. Make sure you grab 2 loops there. And chain 1 and turn. And here's where we're looking at the end of our 4th round. For the 5th round, you're going to be half double crocheting 20 stitches up the side, another shell in the peak, and 20 stitches down the other side. Chain 1 and turn. It'll be a total of 45 stitches for row 5. Let's begin. Half double crochet into the first stitch. We're back at our peak stitch. We'll remove our stitch marker. And again with 5 half double crochets in the peak. 1, 2, 3, pausing for the stitch marker, 4, and 5. To complete row 5, we're going to be continuing 20 more down this other side. Again, row 5 ends with 45 total stitches. Here we go in the very first stitch here. Make sure you catch that. It's 1 and 20. Once again, I'm double checking that I've got 2 loops on my hook. Chain 1 and turn. Here we are at the end of 5 rows. And it's going to be the same for all cup sizes at this point. In row 6, we're going to make a change when we get to the peak. Row 6, we begin to change the curve of the pattern. So when we get to the peak in row 6, we're going to use 3 half double crochets. It's 22 half double crochets at the side, beginning row 6. 1, 21, and 22. You're back at your center stitch. And again, since we're on the 6th row, we're going to be putting 3 stitches this time. So that means our marker will go in the 2nd stitch. 1, 2, pause, and reinsert your stitch marker in that 2nd stitch, your new peak. 1 more half double crochet in that peak stitch. Now you're ready to continue down the other side. There's 22 half double crochets to go, and I will meet you at the end. It'll be 47 stitches again at the end of row 6. 22, chain 1, and turn. Back at the end of row 6, you can see how we're starting to get a curve evolving. As you finish up the 6th row, you'll have a total of 47 stitches around. Chain 1 and turn. Now first, the start of the 7th row. We're going to continue with a half double crochet up each stitch of the upside, 3 half double crochets in the peak, and then we'll go back down the other side. Here we are at the end of row 7, and we're ready to add 2 more rows to finish out our A-size cup. Here we are at the end of row 8. You can see that a natural cup shape is really starting to form. Again, if you're ever at a loss for which row you're on, you can count by the center peak holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then my stitch marker makes 8. I've got 1 more row to go to complete the A cup, and I'll meet you back there. After you finish row 9, if you're doing an A cup, you have a decision to make, whether you're going to be adding a border or leaving a clean edge. If you're going to leave a clean edge, you're going to want to add 4 more rows to add essentially 2 more cup sizes, because adding the border is going to provide an inch more of coverage on either side. So adding 4 more rows could perform as a substitute for a border if you prefer this kind of edge. But if you're going to be following the pattern and adding a border, at this point we're going to move to step 9 and begin our border. After you've completed your final row for your cup size, you're ready to begin your border. There are 3 rows for the border. The very first row begins with a chain 3 just to get started. You're not going to count your turning chain, so it's 3 chains on top of that. It's 1, 2, 3, and now you're looking to skip 2 half double crochets from the previous row, and you're going to begin with 2 double crochets in that 3rd half double crochet. 1 and 2 into that same stitch. You'll chain 1 and repeat this pattern across from this post essentially that you're creating for the base of your border. So again, it's skip 2, two double crochet, chain 1. skip 2, two double crochet in that single stitch and skip 1. We'll continue like this up until we get to the peak, and I'll show you what to do when we reach the peak. And of course, depending on your cup size, you're going to have a different number of double crochet posts. And of course, depending on your cup size, you're going to have a different number of double crochet posts. For an A cup, you're going to have repeated this pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a total of 8 times. When you're coming up onto the peak, you're going to skip those 2 half double crochets before the peak stitch. And in the peak stitch, I'll go ahead and take out my marker. You'll place 2 double crochets, here's where it's different, a chain 2, that's later where we're going to be inserting the ties for our straps. After the chain 2, again, it's 2 more double crochets in that peak. Get some symmetry on that stitch before we continue back down the other side. Okay. From here we are ready to continue down the other side, but to do that, it's a little bit of reverse on the pattern. There's a chain 1 that comes first, skip 2, and then it's 2 double crochets into that stitch there. Just as you did on the other side, but again in reverse as you're coming down. After 2 double crochets, you're going to repeat this pattern by chaining 1, skipping 2, and 2 double crochets. Now when I get to this very last stitch, I'm only going to put 1 double crochet, so that'll match my turning chain on the other side where I added the 3 chains. So 1 double crochet in that very last stitch, and then you're going to turn your work. After you've completed the first border row for an A cup size, you'll have, like shown here, there'll be 19 spaces. And you could also count that there would be a total of 8 double crochet post sections on either side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the same thing on the other side. So for a B cup size, for spaces, you'll have 21 spaces. For a C, 23 spaces. A D, 25 spaces, and a double D would be 27 spaces. Again, for the posts, if you're counting how many posts on either side, for a B cup, that will be 9. For a C, it will be 10. For a D, it will be 11. And for a double D, that would be 12 of those on either side. Now we're ready for our second border row. And I'll go ahead and show you on a finished piece what that looks like. The second border row is when we add in this puff stitch. We're ready to begin the second border row. It begins with a slip stitch in this first chain space. Pull back through on your hook. There's a chain 1, and now you're ready to make your first puff stitch. And the way the puff stitch works is it's a yarn over, go under that chain space, yarn over again and pull up. So I've got 3 loops on my hook now. I'm going to repeat this a total of 5 times all together. So this is 1, yarn over, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now my last step will be to pull through all of these loops, but I'll show you quickly here how many chains we have on the hook. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. It's a total of 9 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 9 of those to make your first puff stitch. You'll close it with the chain 1 and 1 more chain to continue on to your next. Get ready to complete our second puff stitch. It's a yarn over through the space, yarn over, pull up, and we'll repeat that 4 more times because it's a total of 5 of those for each puff stitch. Yarn over, through, yarn over, and up. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 9 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 9. Sometimes it takes some wiggling to get through. And then it's a chain 2. And that's a puff stitch, and we'll repeat this pattern all the way up the side until we reach the peak. So you can see in the peak, we've put 2 puff stitches separated by a chain 2, and now we've chained 2, a puff stitch. We're continuing down the other side. The number of puff stitches in this pattern, of course, will vary by cup size. For an A cup, there'll be a total of 20 puff stitches altogether. For a B, 22, for a C, 24, and for a D, 26, and finally for a double D, it'll be 28 puff stitches altogether. So in this one we have 9 on the side, 2 in the peak, and we're starting back down the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And close with 2 chain stitches, 1, 2. And then when you come up on the last one, it's going to be the same thing. But when we finish, instead of chaining 2, we'll just chain 1 to close. Here we have it, and it's just 1 chain to close. From here, it's a flip and turn. And you can see how those puff stitches work out. Look at that. Such a cool texture. As you embark on the third row of your border, it is a little bit different depending on what size you're doing. If you're in an A, C, or double D cup, you're going to begin with a chain 3, which is what we're doing here. 1, 2, and 3. However, if you are working a B or D cup like this one, you'll begin with a chain 1. And there's a couple other slight differences you can refer to in the pattern. This sample here is a D cup. And you'll see how it works up with an A cup. So again, we begin with a chain 3, and now we're going to put 1 double crochet in top of this very first puff stitch right here. So yarn over, and in that peak there is where we're going to place our double crochet. Just like that. From here, it's one single crochet stitch in this chain space. And now we begin the pattern that we'll be repeating. It's 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the next chain space. So again, we go in the next chain space, we place 2 double crochet. We're going to chain 2 and then 2 more double crochet. Essentially, this is the iris stitch pattern if you've ever done that before, with an added chain stitch in the center to get more of a peak effect in the border. And then here we go. From that, we've got the 2 double crochet, 2 chain stitches, 2 double crochet, and now we anchor that with a single crochet stitch in the next chain space. So it's in every other as we continue. And you can see how that works across in this finished piece. So we'll have an iris stitch, a single crochet, iris stitch, and so forth. It's an easy one to remember since it's 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 more double crochet. So 2, 2, 2. And then alternating your anchoring single crochet stitch. So as we come up on the peak, I'll show you we've got 4 complete iris stitches and then that little half to start. And again, this is for the A cup. If you were working a C cup, you would have 5 iris stitches, and if you were working a double D, you would have 6 of those. Here we go, as we turn to go to our peak stitch. We're first going to anchor with a single crochet. And now in this very peak stitch, right there, that chain 2 space, we are going to put in 7 single crochets. You're going to need to slide them snug together, but this will be where you'll be attaching later your strap. So it really makes that a secure spot to grip onto your straps. In the peak chain 2 space, we're going to put 7 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You might need to slide them over a little bit to make them nice and snug together. 6 and 7 total. Okay, now we're ready to continue down the other side. We're going to begin by first anchoring in with a single crochet in the next chain space. From here, we're going to do just like we did on the other side, adding the iris stitch, final 3rd row of our border trim. And I'll work with you here as we get started. Okay. Again, the pattern is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, all in that same chain space. Then you're going to single crochet and continue this down the side. Now for the very end here, to mirror the other side, when you first started, it's kind of a partial iris stitch. What you'll be doing is putting 2 double crochets in the peak of that puff stitch. You're really just pulling from the post side of that first puff stitch and making 2 double crochets in the same space. And that completes the 3rd border row of your cup. You're going to stay on this side of the cup and you're going to rotate to work the edge below the bust line next. After you finish the third border row, you're going to turn your work to the under the bust side, and we're going to chain one. Unlike the rest of the pattern that does count as a stitch, we're going to make single crochets across the bottom, evenly spaced, and pause when we get to the center point to check our count. We're aiming for 19 single crochet stitches, including that first turn there. So we have one, and now we're going to insert here on the side. That's two. Grabbing the post of this double crochet, that's three. We're going to put one more in that same location. It's four. And now I'm going to insert here in this gap for five. And now I'm coming on the other side here. And that's six, seven. Okay, I'm beginning into the work now across the bottom. That's 19. And 19 puts me, zoom out a little bit. 19 stitches puts me right here at the tail. And again, I try to evenly space those across the bottom. We're going to be adding more border in just a moment there. So from your tail out to the edge, we've got a total of 19 stitches on an A cup. On a B, it would be 20 to the center. On a C, 21. D22. As you work across the rest of the base of the cup, you're going to stitch over your tail to save you some weaving later. And it'll be the same number of stitches as it took you to get to that midpoint. So for an A cup, that's 19. There's one, two, 19. And we'll go here in the gap, 18. And finally, on the side of this beginning iris stitch for 19. And that's fairly evenly spaced across the bottom. That will play out just fine for our next step, which is going to be adding the rest of this bottom row that will ultimately contain our bottom tie. As you get ready to begin the second border row along the bottom of the cup, you're going to be chaining two, and if you're still working with that tail, you can wrap that around. Turn. And now we're going to do half double crochets beginning in the second stitch, because this first chain two will count as a stitch. We're going to make a total of 38 across an A cup. So yarn over and find the second stitch. And this first one, especially if you've got the added yarn tail, might be a little tight, but that'll help keep that even more secure as you continue on. Okay, so that's one yarn. We finished up our lower edge second row of half double crochets for an A cup. That was 38 stitches across, and we're ready to turn and begin the lower edge for the third row. This is the one that makes the loops for the ties. This is a stitch that begins with what we call a front post triple. So you're going to wrap your yarn twice, and you're going to be going around the second and the third single crochet post of this lower row. So I'll show you how that works. We're wrapped around. We're going to come in behind the post of that single crochet. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and yarn over, pull through the last two. That makes a front post triple stitch. So again, that's yarn over twice, and we'll go behind the post, back through, yarn over, pull through. You can see that I have 4 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and yarn over, pull through two. That's your second front post triple. Now when you're getting ready to anchor these, it's going to be anchored with 2 single crochet stitches. You do not use the stitch behind the post, you're going to move on to the very next stitch is where you're going to single crochet. And that's in the second row. This is the pattern that you're going to recreate across the bottom that will give you your loops for your ties. So again, we're going to repeat this pattern now. Yarn over twice, and we always skip these single crochets that are underneath where we did the anchor stitch. So we'll skip those two, and here we come to the next one. We're taking the front post to that stitch, yarn over, and again. And now you're ready to anchor once more. 1 and 2 single crochets. So you can see what we've got going on here. I'm going to repeat this across the bottom of the cup. For an A cup, it's going to end up being a total of 7 pairs of loops. I'll show you what it looks like here. If you were to do a D cup, you would have 11 pairs of loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So here for our A cup, we'll have 7 pairs. So I'll just continue across like that and meet you back at the end. We're coming up on the end of our third row, the loops for ties. We're going to make our 9th set of loops here in this A cup, and then finish off the bottom of this cup. So it's a yarn over twice. We're going behind that post of the single crochet row. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And again, with our front post, triple crochet stitch here. And then we'll be anchoring this with 2 single crochets. If you're working a size B or a size D today, you would anchor with just 1 single crochet at the end instead of 2. But since we're doing a size A, there we are. We anchored with 2. And if I count from across, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sets of loops across the bottom of our A cup. So at this point, we're going to bind off, and we'll leave a 6-inch tail of yarn. Since elastic yarn is slippery and thus needs to be weaved in 3 directions with the darning needle to be secure, we'll want to have extra length to do so. And then we'll repeat this to make 1 more cup. To finish our project today, we're adding elastic ties underneath the bust and finishing it with beads, as well as adding a necktie, also finished with beads. You're going to like the security of the elastic cords that come with your kit. It really helps out with swimming and water sports, and it's just more comfortable, and it will give you more hoisting power as well. So you can see I've already wove it underneath the front loops on the underside of this D cup, and I'm ready to weave it in our other cup. So what I like to do is get a scrap piece of yarn, and you're going to want to tie that to the end of your elastic cord. Nice and tight. And now you've got a method to thread through your cup. So you go underneath the 2 loops, underneath each set of loops, you're going underneath. There's no need to alternate because you have the back stitches there to go off of. Okay, you work your way out to the other side. The wonderful thing about doing the elastic cord like this is it is adjustable. You can even gather it and scrunch it a little bit under the cup if you like more of that kind of look. You can add space between the breasts if that's what you need. There's a lot of adjusting that can be done with this method. I like to try to make sure I flip that cord nice and straight underneath the bust line. Once you've woven it through the underside of the bust line and come out the other end, then you're able to add on the beads if you like. You can slide those over your darning needle and pull them on one at a time. Sometimes it can be quite a tug. A pair of pliers can help as well. You can really use any type of bead that you like. I found that wood beads work nicely, about 10 to 12 inches in diameter, and you'll need to have one of the larger hole beads in order to work this cord through. You can do a single bead or a set of 3 like this. When you're pleased with how your beads look, you can simply slide off your scrap yarn, and it's a half knot to tie there at the end, and then slide your beads down and that'll hold it in place. Okay, to make the bust tie, you've got 50 inches of cord for a C, D, or double D, or 40 inches for an A or B. If you're putting beads on, go ahead and secure those. Fold your cord in half, and you're going to come through the front of the cup of the swimsuit towards the back. You'll pull up a loop behind, and then simply take these tails and tuck them under the loop and pull taut. And there you have it. That's all it takes to secure your necktie straps. So you've got your neckties, your underbust, and it's all adjustable. You can scrunch it, add more space where you need it, and tie it just as tight as you need. I hope you enjoyed making your Lux Lila bikini top.